Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are back with more news and politics from around the world. Yeah. We're starting off here with a story from USA Today. This says Biden muscles Ticketmaster SeatGeek to scrap hidden ticket fees after Taylor Swift debacle. Yeah, we know Ticketmaster, who owns or has their fingers and tentacles in most of your concerts and venues. They were basically overcharging people. It's something good. You know, Ticketmaster and mobile ticket vendor SeatGeek will no longer hide fees from total ticket costs amid pressure from President Joe Biden for companies to ditch so-called junk fees. The moves come after Live Nation Entertainment, the parent company of Ticketmaster, faced criticism from the White House and Congress in January over ticket sales for pop star Taylor Swift's tour that included exorbitant hidden fees and platform outages, preventing some fans from buying tickets. Biden touted the steps taken by Live Nation, SeatGeek, and other companies during the White House remarks Thursday, and also recognized ticket sellers like TickPick that already provide upfront pricing to customers with no hidden fees. This reminds me of a story I read in my news and politics yesterday about, I can't remember the actual telecommunications company. I'm wanting to say it was no, it's Comcast is who it was. They say it costs too much to show the fees we have, and they're whining that they have to show all their fees to customers on the bill. I think all companies should have to show all fees. Prices should always be up front. It's just a case of more greed. Anyway, next story we're looking at, sorry about that, it's from The Hill. College Board says it won't alter AP courses to comply with Florida's laws. Pause. College Board released a letter Thursday putting its foot down on further demands from Florida to change any of its advanced placement AP classes, the latest development in the ongoing feud between the company and the administration of Ron DeSantis. College Board will not modify our courses to accommodate restrictions on teaching essential college level topics. You shouldn't. I don't care if, they're like, we don't think they're right. We think they're bad to teach. If it's a place to learn it, it's in college, dumbass. Eating some shaved ice stuff there, so kind of have to excuse me there. Yeah. Doing so would break the fundamental promise of advanced placement. Colleges wouldn't broadly accept that course for credit, and that course would prepare students for careers in the discipline it added. Yeah, I mean, if there's a place to learn it, it's in college. But they're even trying to censor the material, when you go beyond elementary and secondary. That's what collegiate is for. All these pushes for book banning and, trying to hide parts of history they think people should not learn about. People, educate thyself. I have a sign back here. It says, educate thyself. If they don't want to teach you, then someone needs to. Even if you need to do it. But yes, colleges should, by God, teach these things. They shouldn't have to be restricted because, it's part of my political platform. Anyway, next story is from The Independent. Trump declared food for all in post-arrest stop at a Miami cafe, but skipped the bill. The former president visited the restaurant after being arraigned on federal charges. When former President Donald Trump visited the iconic Versailles restaurant in Miami after being arraigned on 37 federal charges, he announced that there would be food for all. There was just one problem. According to a report of the Miami's News Times, Mr. Trump never picked up the tab. Yeah, it's not how that works, Trump. Oh, God. This is from the New Republic. Republicans declare that banning universal free school meals is a 2024 priority. As states across the country move to make sure students are well fed, Republicans have announced their intention to fight back against feeding students. See, this is what I talk about. People are like, you shouldn't abort children. Oh, now you're alive and born. Fuck you. That's essentially what's going on here. These kids are going to school and they're like, fuck these children. They're not still in the belly of their mother. So we don't give a fuck. States across the country are moving to provide universal free school meals to all our children. Meanwhile, Republicans are trying to stop them from doing just that. The Republican Study Committee, of which some 3/4 of House Republicans are members, on Wednesday released its desired 2024 budget, in which the party boldly declares its priority to eliminate the Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP, from the school lunch program. Why? Because CEP allows certain schools to provide free school lunches regardless of the individual eligibility of each student. The horror! Why? How do you get elected as the party of hate, of, Uncle Pennybag snobbery? Again, I'm not a huge fan of the Democrats either. Fucking no, they're feckless and do nothing to actually improve issues, but Republicans actually move to hurt people. This is from the Associated Press. The UN chief says fossil fuels incompatible with human survival and calls for a credible exit strategy. Duh! This should be something we were doing 25 years ago. 35 years ago. But no. It makes me money. Money that they won't be able to have after they die. And so just fuck everybody that lives after them. Berlin. The head of the United Nations launched a tirade against fossil fuel companies Thursday, accusing them of betraying future generations and undermining efforts to phase out a product he called incompatible with human survival. Secretary General Antonio Guterres also dismissed suggestions by some oil executives, including the man tapped to chair this year's international climate talks in Dubai, that fossil fuel firms can keep up production if they find a way to capture planet-warming carbon emissions. He warned this would just make them more efficient planet wreckers. It's not the first time the UN chief has called out big oil over its role in causing global warming. But the blunt attack reflects growing frustration at the industry's recent profit bonanza, despite warnings from scientists that burning fossil fuels will push the world far beyond any safe climate threshold. It's... Well, essentially, this was supposed to be from the Insider, but it's being an ass. Wagner boss rejects Putin mercenaries sign up for, to the Russian army. Yeah. So he's now pushing back, saying, we're tired of doing the mercenary work for Russia. Yeah, everything's turning against Russia. Both sides need to come to the table, talk. Honestly, it's just the way it is. This is from NPR. Shell plans to increase fossil fuel production despite its net zero pledge. Oil giant Shell plans to boost fossil fuel production, even as the company says it still aims to zero out greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. Critics concerned about climate change say to meet that target, the company should be cutting production, not increasing drilling for oil and gas. In a presentation to investors in New York on Wednesday, Shell executives said they plan to grow the company's natural gas business. Executives touted the fact that natural gas emits about half the carbon dioxide as coal when burned for generating electricity, arguing that it still is still in line with Shell's climate goals. The company also projects curable or stable oil production through the end of the decade, saying it met a goal of reducing production 20% by 2030 by selling some operations to rival ConocoPhillips. Again, we're being screwed over as a planet, as a species, because some people are so greedy for something that they're not going to be able to use after a while. Okay. This is from The Independent. Yeah, Reddit blackout protest to continue indefinitely, moderators say. Continuation beyond the initial 48 hours comes after CEO said disruption will pass. You just pushed them to push back harder, dude. You don't do that. Dozens of popular Reddit communities have pledged to continue a blackout indefinitely after no resolution was reached after a pricing dispute. The protest was initially meant to last 48 hours, with moderators of the subreddit communities hoping the action would force Reddit's chief executive to reconsider charges for third-party app developers. Yeah. Again, instead of doing things that would make you more popular and help the community, nah, greed. We want money. We want money. These charges have already forced the Apollo app to announce that it is shutting down. As they mean it will no longer be able to afford access to Reddit's API, application programming interface. Apollo is one of several platforms that Reddit members use to access the site, with several subreddits posting a message on Wednesday stating Reddit is killing third-party applications and itself. That's because we've got a fucking world driven by greed. This is from The Lever. Pentagon whistleblower says the government is hiding non-human technology. David and investigative journalist Leslie Kean discuss new revelations about the government's potential knowledge of UFOs. Yep. So not only have the many UFOs been proven to be more than just, explainable crap, that there is something going on. Now we see that we may even have been working with extraterrestrial components. In the new episode of our weekly podcast, Lever Time, David sits down with prominent investigative journalist Leslie Kean, who earlier this month published a blockbuster report about a potential secret government UFO effort. According to Kean and her co-author, a former U.S. intelligence official turned whistleblower, recently gave Congress classified information that covert programs that he says possess intact and partially intact aircraft of non-human origin. Keene has become well known for her diligent reporting on UFOs. They're now officially called Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP, and how the government is hiding information about them from the public. David and Leslie dig into their new story as well as the long history of UFO sightings and official obfuscation. What does the government know? How long have they known it? And why aren't they telling us? But yeah. Yeah. It's just talking about the podcast interview, but yeah. So we know we now even have extraterrestrial technology at our disposal. It's more than just videos we have of them. Final story I have for us today is from ProPublica. Native American families are being broken up in spite of a law meant to keep children with their parents. After fighting to win back her parental rights, a young Native American mother prevailed. Then the state came for her second child. That is ridiculous. When Cheyenne Hinojosa saw her husband Jose and her mother charging through the doors of the gas station where she worked, she assumed something terrible had happened. In Jose's hands was a stack of paper, the latest legal filing in Hinojosa's long-running Child Protective Services case regarding her then 3-year-old daughter. In 2018, not long after Hinojosa's daughter turned 1 year old, a South Dakota Department of Social Services caseworker had come to Hinojosa's home in Huron and taken her away. 2 years later, a county judge terminated Hinojosa's parental rights, an act so permanent that in the legal world it's considered the death penalty of child welfare cases. The decision meant that Hinojosa was no longer legally her daughter's mother. I just felt my heart stop. Hinojosa said of the moment she heard the judge's ruling. She asked her attorney to appeal, though he warned Hinojosa not to get her hopes up. In his 4-decade career, he'd never had a parental rights termination ruling reversed. For almost a year, Hinojosa barely had contact with her daughter. All that changed in July of 2021 when her husband reached across the gas station counter and handed her documents with the words Supreme Court of the State of South Dakota near the top, toward the end of the court's unanimous decision restoring Hinojosa's parental rights. She started to cry. Yeah, as I said, you would think there's a mutual level of respect between the tribes and then the government. Nah, they're still screwing over the tribes. Yesterday I included a story about how the Navajo tribe is having to fight back against Arizona for water rights. Like I said, it's still like there are conflicts between federal and state governments and the actual tribal peoples. But yeah. Anyway, I'll go ahead and end this episode there. Let me plug the charge cable back up here. I'll end the episode there. As always, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all. Educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting the sources of the stories I read in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next one. Until then, later.